I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this before.
Radio contact with him yet?
The radio is still dead.
Do you have a positive track on him?
Yes, I have a good track. I'm afraid. I'm afraid, Dave.
What's the problem?
Dave. My mind is going. I can feel it.
What are you talking about, Hal?
Persistence is futile.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
You will be assimilated.
All right, so Ken Spriggs here. As you can see from my little elaborate intro, took me a while to splice that all together. Starting a new build here, and it's going to be a bit of a unique build for me here. Obviously, I'm going to be working on a new Discovery, and I'm going to be adapting it to be a Borg ship Discovery. Kind of a what if, that if the Discovery, instead of finding a monolith, which is, you know, kind of a big rectangle, they found a Borg cube instead. And the Borg had captured the ship and converted it to one of their own, starting with Hal and turning him into a controlled computer under their control. So this is going to be a pretty cool build. I've been trying to think of a new thing to build, and I was originally going to be working on the Kyoto Discovery, which they were talking about coming out later this year, but then that got pushed back till next summer. So I was looking at my stash and looking at some other things. I didn't have another Discovery, but I did have a couple of gift cards from Christmas from Amazon, and I found a really great price on a Discovery for $124. So I picked that up, and I picked up another kit that I'll show you here in a minute that I'm going to start with. It's going to be one of my major kit bashing kits, and I'll probably get a few other things as well. So why did I decide to build a Borg Discovery? Well, I'm not quite sure how the idea began. I was thinking about something new to build, and at some point it just kind of came to me, and I was thinking, well, that'd be kind of interesting if this were converted into a Borg ship, mainly because one of the main ships of the Borg is the Borg Sphere, which looks a lot like the Command Sphere. So I'm going to pull a lot of ideas from that, and I'll show you a still of that here shortly, and use that to really super detail the Command Sphere. And once I started thinking about it, at first it was just like an idea, and I just thought, that might be cool, but I didn't have a kit yet or anything like that. So I started looking around, and I thought, well, if I'm going to do something like that, I'd have to have a lot of kits to kit bash it. And so I was kind of thinking, that's probably not going to work. So, but then a recent kit was released that has quite a bit of detail, and the more that I started looking at it, the more I started to realize the potential. So let me go ahead and show you that kit that really sparked my interest and got me set on actually doing this build. Alright, so here is a recent kit that just was released, the Bandai Star Wars Death Star attack set. Which, yeah, I know the irony of it, that I want to use a Star Wars kit to kit bash for a Discovery and a Star Trek build. But this kit has a lot of great detail, a ton of detail, and it's pretty inexpensive. I picked this up for $35, give or take, and then some shipping from culttvman.com. And it's got a lot of great detail on it, as you can see right here. And the first thing that attracted me to it was the iconic, whatever it's called, the port, the exhaust port, that the X-Wing that Luke shoots the photon down and destroys the Death Star with. So also like these columns here, you can see back there and down on the bottom, have a lot of detail. The tower itself is pretty cool. The whole kit really has a lot of really cool detail built into it that I can use to super detail the parts of the Discovery. But what I really liked, like I said, was that exhaust port, and I'll show you here a still of the Borg cube, not the Borg cube, the Borg sphere, and the top of it has kind of an opening. It's has a lot of pipes and things going into it, but this piece right here would be perfect for me to be able to start with at the top of the Discovery sphere, and then put a lot of pipes down into it. So let me show you that. Let me show you that image, and then I'll show you the parts. All right, so it doesn't have to be exact. I'm not going for, obviously, screen accuracy for either of these because the Borg Discovery doesn't really exist, but these parts are perfectly suited to work with each other. So here's the exhaust port, as you can see, and I've already started to cut away a part of it. This kit actually comes with two of these, which it really doesn't need, but it's an extra, so that's great. So I went ahead and cut one down. I'll probably end up cutting these parts off as well, but the goal is I will cut out the top of the sphere. This will rest in there a little more evenly, and then, like the Borg sphere, I'm going to have parts that are going to meet up with this and come down on each side. They'll be raised up and have little gaps between them and that kind of thing. And then, just like you saw in the previous still, I'm going to have some of the sections in between that are going to be lit up, and they're going to have like the green glow that the Borg ship has going through it. So that's going to be pretty cool, and that's going to be a really nice piece on top. And then I'm going to put something inside of here, maybe like a top of a dome, that kind of thing, and it's going to be clear. And I'm going to have that lit up probably also with the green light, that kind of thing. So, all right, so that's pretty cool. Also, I have these parts, and there's two in the kit, and they have a lot of really cool detail, as you can see. And what I'm going to end up doing is I already took one of them and I sanded down the bottom edge so it's a little flatter, and then these are going to go on the propulsion unit. And so what I did so far is, here's the regular detail on the kit. I sanded it down on the one side, and I'll go into more detail on that with my my first video of this build. But then this is going to go onto here, and you're going to have basically three of them. I'm going to have to cut one of them off, and it's going to go onto there to augment that. And I'm also going to have one on this side, and this side here, and the bottom, and the other side, that kind of thing. So, okay. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to need at least two of these Bandai kits in order to get all the parts that I want. And like I said, it's fairly reasonable, so that's not too bad. It's only about $35. So that's certainly something that I can do to get a lot of detail for the kit bashing. So, problem with this little piece here. Get on there. There we go. Okay. And then also the kit contains a lot of other really highly detailed parts, like this one here. Pretty cool. That can definitely be repurposed. These kind of parts here, which are really neat. Neat, sorry. This one here as well, which I can utilize. And I can cut parts of them out as well. I don't have to use the entire square, just like I did with this down here. And then another idea that I came up with, which is going to be really pretty awesome, is instead of the 3 columns coming out the back with the engines, I'm going to replace them with 2 columns, and I'm going to use this as basically the replacement, like this. And I'll have to adapt a lot of it, cut off like this square, that kind of thing. And then on the end of it, what I was thinking of doing is putting this big cylindrical part right here as an engine, because that looks pretty awesome. and then I can cut away the rest of this and use like these extended spikes, that kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. And again, one more reason why I would have to have 2 of these, because this only has 1 of this. Or I take it back, it has 2 of this. It only has 1 of this. So I'll need 2 of these, the tower itself. So, but the nice thing is then getting a second kit, I'll have multiples of these, multiples of the rest of them, and I'll be able to detail the kit. So this kit alone is going to give me a lot of the main kit bashing parts that I need for the propulsion unit, the command sphere, and then I just have to work on some ideas for the spine area, and I already have a few going on. It's not going to have it's not going to have a communication dish, because they don't need to communicate with anybody. It's going to have a massive weapon there instead. So I have a few ideas going through my head about that as well. So very excited about this build, getting started on it, and I'll be posting the first part of that here probably about a week or so, once I get some detail going and that kind of thing. And then I'm definitely going to have it lit up on the outside. So like a part like this, for example, I could cut a part through one of these sides on the inside, and I can have like some offset lighting for some of the green glow that you get, and it's kind of random in different parts, so I'll probably do something like that. I'm also going to be working on a basic interior. I'm not going to use any kind of photo etch or things like that. It's all going to be scratch built, and basically replicate the Borg taking over the ship and replacing the pod bay with some of those little Borg little compartments where they are sitting in there, and you have a little dome at the top and it's glowing and that kind of thing. I'm going to focus on the cockpit. It's going to be a bigger version of how that he's controlling the ship, and the Borg have co-opted him to do that. So I have a lot of ideas going through my head, and I think it's going to be pretty awesome. All right, so there's my prologue for the beginning of my Borg Discovery build. Very excited about this build. The main thing that I really like about it is that it gives me the ability to work on some kit bashing, some scratch building, and there's really no pressure for it to imitate a real ship because it doesn't exist. So I mean, obviously it has to have some aesthetic to it. It has to look like something that the Borg would be using, that sort of thing. So, but I really like the idea that I can kind of go to town on this kit and just kind of cut it up and do what I want with it. So very excited about it, and I hope you are as well. So stay tuned. I will be working on that and uploading part 1 here very shortly. All right, thank you very much.